Hello. Boo.
Boo.
Hello. Here we go again. It's 6 o'clock Sunday evening in the UK. Beautiful sunshine outside my windows. I've had to draw the blinds. How about you, Sammy? Who are you clicking at? This is a live professional show. Stop the clicking.
I'm clicking at Oscar. He's barking at the delivery man outside because he's packed.
Okay, long as he doesn't.
There you go.
There you go, Oscar. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Open Minds. How's your week been, Chris?
It's been a good week. Yeah, very interesting. A lot of new
adventures. Oscar's there.
There you go.
Hi, Oscar. You always have to do it, don't you? You always have to do it. Right, you come back now, Chris. Yeah, very busy week for you. I'm going to sort of like give you a shout out. Mr. Shearer here, the medium, is doing some real good events coming up soon. Watch his space, not my space, his space. But yeah, it's all good. Now, Chris, we've got to tell the audience, due to prior commitments that you made way back last year, you will have to leave the show around about 6:30, and you're just going to disappear. You're just going to go black screen, and off you go, and I will be left alone with the guest. Poor guest. But just so everyone knows, yeah, I know. If you wonder where Chris is going or gone, he's got a prior engagement he was unable to get himself out of, so that's not an issue. He's a medium, and that's what he does. Right now, Chris, do you want to let Ryder out of the naughty room?
Yeah. Hello.
What's up? Hi, Gloria and Chris.
Good evening and welcome to the show, Ryder.
Good evening. It's 9 a.m. here. What are you talking about?
Say that with a big smile. Come on. You're loving it, aren't you? Yes, Gloria does get you out of bed early in the morning, and it's part of the program. But anyway, apart from that, seriously, welcome to Open Minds. Welcome to the UK. Ryder, I'm just going to ask you a question, and we're going to give the platform to you. Where did all of this begin for you, your spiritual journey? Where did it all start? And we'll be easy with you, by the way. We'll be gentle, okay?
Nah, don't be gentle. Ask me some great deep questions. That's how you get the
right. I'm on it.
All right. Go, well, it really started back whenever I was really young. I lived with my parents in this trailer on the east coast of the United States. And much like you, because I had you on my show last week, Gloria, and I too seen beings come out of the walls whenever I was younger. They were translucent, non-corporeal, whatever you want to call them. They would come out of the walls every night. It was like that. I don't know if you guys had it in the UK, but it was like this old school wood paneling type thing. It was made to look like wood, but it really it wasn't really wood. It was like a 70s thing, like apparently here in the United States, like a lot of places had it. And every night that I would go to sleep, they would come out of the walls and they would surround me. There was a lot of them. There was at least 8 of them almost every night. And sometimes they would get so close to my face. And, you know, it scared the crap out of me because I didn't know really what was going on. You know, I was young. My parents didn't know what was happening. And I mentioned it to them, and they thought something was wrong with me, right? So anyone that thinks that someone has something wrong with them, they take you to the doctor. You know, my mom thought that it was something that was wrong with my eyes. So she took me to an eye doctor, and the eye doctor, what I remember of it, he was actually really cool, and he gave me this like index card that had like all these like circles and like these different things on it, and he was like, "Can you make these pop up off of the index card?" Right? Like, can you see it morph off of the index card? And of course, I could, and I never went back to the doctor because my mom was a really holistic kind of person. I've never been vaccinated for anything in my life. I never had any vaccinations whenever I was a kid. Never had any of it. And my mom was really a holistic in that sense. She didn't really believe in doctors. I wasn't exposed to fluoride when I was younger. She never let me drink out of the tap water. Like, in a lot of those different things that she done, I think really helped me, develop my spiritual abilities as a young child. But even though those things didn't necessarily get me, the way that she treated me got me, inevitably kind of shut down some of those spiritual abilities, because when someone doesn't know something, they're in fear, they get into a state of fear, and whenever they don't know about it, they I don't know. I don't really know what it's like to be a parent because I'm not a parent, but I wish you would have done things a little bit differently. But anyway, the older that I got, the more that these abilities kind of started to develop. I started to be able to what I now know as remote viewing. Whenever I was younger, I was able to see things that hadn't happened yet. I was able to parents, things that were going to happen next before they happened. Like, for instance, we would be driving down. Yeah, we would be driving down the road, and we'd be listening to the radio, and no matter what channel it was on, it could be, oldies, it could be the new pop garbage, but I would be able to tell her the next song that would come on, and I would be able to do it every single time. And this freaked her out to the point where we wouldn't listen to the radio at all, period, in the car. It would just be complete dead silence. But those abilities then later on developed into downloads, into spiritual downloads. And whenever I left my parents' home at 15 years old, I moved in with my grandmother, and around 18 or 19, I started receiving these downloads out of nowhere about things that I couldn't possibly have known anything about. I didn't research it. I didn't look into it. At this point, I didn't have any concept of what spirituality was or any of that. I was kind of not really raised in Christianity. I kind of chose that path for myself because my mom, she was an atheist. She didn't believe in anything, and I kind of wanted to, sock it to her by, being a Christian and all that, to kind of get back at her. So, but I always knew that something was wrong with that religion. A lot of it made absolutely no sense. It was very contradicting, very cryptic, very not giving the entire picture, so I never really fully bought into it. I always knew that there was more, and when I started receiving these downloads, I would try and tell people about it. And because I was getting things like, I don't remember all of it because, like, Gloria, downloads expand over a period of time. And it was things like, we live in a 3D holographic simulation where there's other dimensions, alternate realities, and I was like diagramming out the dimensions, that we live in the third, there's the fourth, fifth, sixth,
Yeah.
like all of these different planets, all of these different things. And
What
I'm
age?
trying.
What age were you? What age when the first ones were coming? At this point,
It was probably around 18 or 19.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to explain these things to my friends and my dad, because my dad was really open to a lot of this, and I think he actually believed me about the beings coming out of the walls and all that. He was way more open to all of it. And so I tried to start explaining this to people, that we live in a simulation. And again, all these things that I'm discovering, I had no idea about. Like, I never read anything about it. I never looked anything up, online about it. I was just, completely brand new. I was just receiving all this from, wherever. And I was trying to explain this. I was showing people like these little diagrams of like how we're here on Earth, and then like there's like another level outside of the Earth that could be considered 4D, and then there's another level outside of that can be 5D, and that everything is ran off of frequencies. And the only thing the only way that anything is solid is because we've all accepted the fact that it's solid. And like all of these different things. And then again, people shut that down in me again, because whenever you're trying to explain of things that to people that have absolutely no understanding of it and has been indoctrinated with a core set of beliefs of how they think reality works, then you look like a crazy person to them.
Yeah. I know that feeling. Yeah, I've got that title. Can I ask you at this point, Ryder, before you go on, were you aware who was giving you this information at that age, or did it just come into your consciousness?
Well, from later on, because we'll get into that. So I'm going to keep going, and I'll tie that back in. So
okay,
I would receive the downloads and everything, and then I would go to people and I would tell them about it, and then they would be like, "Oh, okay, well, they thought that I was crazy, that I had lost it, basically." So inevitably, I was like, "Okay, well, I can't keep, talking about these kinds of things, because I don't think I mentioned in the beginning, but I'm from a very small town of like 2,000 people." So I was like, okay, well, I can't, because they're not getting it, they don't understand. And so inevitably I kept receiving all this information, but I didn't have an outlet for it, and whenever you don't have an outlet and you're receiving all this stuff, it tends to implode upon itself. It tends to fold in upon itself, and it has absolutely nowhere to go. You can't speak about it. You don't know what to do with the information. So it collapses in upon itself. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I started looking for, routes to kind of shut it off and turn it down. And unfortunately, I got hooked into hard drugs at around 20 or 21. And, that did the trick. It numbed it all out. It took it all away, which was, what I wanted, because again, I didn't have anyone. I didn't even have one person that I could even go to talk about any of these things, you know.
I
So it
mean,
was just
I think you're not alone in that. Many have done that. As you know from what I told you last week, mine wasn't drugs. I didn't touch the drugs. Mine was alcohol. It was alcohol to stop it, to try to dumb it down. So it's you've got to think about it today. It's a really sad thing that many people have experienced this, Ryder, like yourself, where there's no one to talk to, there's no one to share it with. It's a lot better today, but however, I've heard many people I've spoken to, they turn to hard drugs because there was nothing back in the day to to support you. So
there wasn't, and I didn't know anything,
no,
about any of these kinds of communities because I think that they were, I don't know if they were so much fresh, but I didn't know where to find anyone.
no.
And so the information collapsed in upon itself. I turned to hard drugs and opiates. I had OD'd 5 times. I had a near-death experience, which that didn't, stop me either. I kept doing it, and then I finally decided to come out to California. Came out to California. Tried to get clean and sober. That didn't work. I ended up going back home and continued to screw my life up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back out here a second time. And it seemed like everything just kind of, fell into place. I mean, that's not exactly how it happened. There was a lot of things, that happened in between that kind of helped me clean up my act. I mean, it's been a super rough road, but I wouldn't change any of it because it's made me, the person that I am today, and I'm able to have these kinds of conversations with beautiful people like yourself and Chris, and talk to amazing people in this field. But so I got sober, I got clean, I started doing all this stuff, and then these abilities that I had had whenever I was younger started to come back incrementally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I received, a download that I turned into a presentation called Exiting the Simulation, Returning to Source, and got on a bunch of people's show. But the whole reason that I even started my show, Raised by Giants, was to help people because there's a lot of things that's going on on the planet right now, physically, spiritually, all of it, and it can be super overwhelming. But I'm like, I need to start the show to get all of this stuff off my chest and talk to people about it, or else the same thing that happened whenever I was 18 or 19 years old is going to happen again. I needed an outlet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the biggest reason why I started my show, Raised by Giants. But so again, your question about the downloads, what I've
Yeah.
come to discover about the downloads is that I think that the downloads are actually coming from us, because I think that we, as multi-dimensional spirit beings, have everything within us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have all of the knowledge of the entire universe within us. We are just a fracture apart. We've been fractured out from source, right? We are source itself, here to experience itself. And we have all of the knowledge that source has, and source is infinite. It has all the knowledge in the world. And I think people have a different concept of what source is. People think the source is like a an all-knowing, all-powerful God, but it's not like that to me. Source is neither malevolent or benevolent. It just is. It just exists, right? It's something that it's like the motherboard of a computer that keeps everything in motion, right? And it has all of the knowledge of everything, right? And we've been fractaled off from that. And not only that, we also have all of the memories of every one of our past lives stored in our DNA. And I think whenever we get these kinds of downloads, it's us unlocking a unknown part of ourselves that we've seen and known before, right? It's not coming externally from us. It's actually coming internally from us. And a lot of, these concepts and ideas have been misinterpreted, because people are trying to logically wrap their brain around something that's happening, and they're getting misinformed by it from themselves and from their own thoughts and ideas. But that's where I really think that it's coming from, Gloria, is that whenever we get these downloads or spiritual downloads, it's not coming externally from us.
I mean,
internally.
It's no one. I mean, at the moment, it's a really common theory at the moment with some guests I've had on the podcast, and who knows. I tend to resonate to that because I come from label non-duality, I consciousness, having the human experience. So I am all things, e.t. everything, information. So I resonate. I understand the way that you express your truth. I have no issue with that. And whether I did or not, it's irrelevant. It's your truth. But I resonate with the way that you've expressed that. Yeah, I resonate. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you brought it up, Ryder, because there was someone I watched the other day and they talk about guides and spiritual guides. And my understanding was just the guide is just a manifestation within that experience, but really you're talking to yourself and downloading from your higher self to yourself here to change your reality. But when they emphasize it so much on the guide part of the experience that's in between the manifestation, it can get frustrating or it can get confusing for so many people. So I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm of the same understanding. So
yeah, I think the a lot of us don't tend to give ourselves enough credit. We always want to look outside of ourselves for solutions to our problems and issues, and that's been a learned behavior. That's been an indoctrinated
part of
belief.
the program. Part of the program. Yeah, part of the program.
But yeah, you brought up something really interesting in there, Chris, which is a manifestation, and manifestation has really been twisted and turned into something that it's not too by spiritual new age people. They're teaching a very dangerous form of manifestation, right? They think that people can just manifest things out of thin air without any consequences, and that's not the way that manifestation works, because we live in a duality, pluralistic reality where if you want something, you have to give something up in return. Right? That's the way the manifestation works. Like, you just can't manifest something out of thin air without any repercussions for it. Like, you have to offer up something of equal or greater value. And if you don't offer up something of equal and greater value, then the universe is going to take something from you of equal or greater value. And it doesn't mean that it's going to take it from you right then. It could be at any point, in your life. So we've gotten this very dangerous form of manifestation going on out in the world, where people think that they can manifest all kinds of money and like a brand new house and a brand new car and all these nice things without doing anything for it in return. Right. And it's okay. Well, what is the car and the house and this brand new and all this money and millions of dollars worth to you? You know, is it worth your family? You know, is it worth your livelihood? Is it worth your integrity? Is it worth your morals? Because you're going to be sacrificing something to get the things that you want. Right? That's why I never manifest anything materialistic.
No, I mean, it's a fact. You raised it earlier, Ryder. People tend to look outside themselves for everything instead of going within. Okay. When you go within and you manifest, then you change your reality because you become it. You spiritualize matter. We spoke about this before. And it's a really, the law of attraction, I believe, in the system, or we call it the matrix, whatever, has been programmed in a way to, it's like a drug itself, to catch you in, to believe. So you, instead of going in, you're still going out. You're still going outward to try and obtain things. But if you don't go within first to do the work, like you said, there's going to be consequences of action because you're putting your focus within the matrix, within the illusion, within the control. So it's just going to come back. It's going to come back. So, I like the way that you've explained that off the back of the question Chris gave you. Yeah.
What? Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about belief, right? Because belief is very important, right? I think that belief in something is what brings that thing or that situation or that people or whatever it is that you're trying to manifest into your life. You know, belief is the strongest conscious emotion that we can possibly have as a human being. Right? Because perception and belief is what runs this 3D holographic simulation that we have. Right? If you believe in something with every, fiber of your being, then you're going to bring that into your reality. Whether that belief is right, wrong, true, or false, it doesn't matter. Right? And this is the way that the dark side, the archons, whatever you want to call them, has been able to manipulate us so easily, is through our beliefs. Right? Because it doesn't make a difference if something is real or not, Gloria, as long as they have created the perception that it's real and have gotten people to believe that it's real. Because when you get a large enough group of people to believe in something, all of their minds and all their conscious collective of that thought and belief is what brings it into their reality. And that's so important for people to realize and really take into consideration how powerful, that really is. That means that they can have an event that isn't true at all, that is complete fabrication and has been made up, but the only reason that it's real is because they've gotten people to believe in it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, no, I hear you. I am, well, last week when I spoke to you, this new analogy popped into my head, and I'm sort of being purporting it everywhere now that anyone I talk to, and I say, I want you to turn off your TV for 3 days, 72 hours. Don't read the news, do nothing, and put all your focus and your attention on your life, your experience, your family, your friends, your interaction. Focus all your attention. Get off social media, get off everything to do with technology. And if you can, for 3 days, then film it. Make your film your reality as you are experiencing it. You, yourself, it's truth to you. After 3 days, yeah, then turn back on the TV, watch what's on the screen, and see if it's the reality that you're in. You'll be in for a big surprise. It's not your reality. It's an illusional reality that you're being told is real. But the real reality you're in is what you're personally experiencing with your family and friends and loved ones, whether you're fighting, whether you're hugging, loving, laughing, getting drunk, having a birthday party. This is doing the garden, going for walks. This is your reality. It's your truth. No one can share your truth. No one can say to you, you're not experiencing that, because you have a knowing you are. So I use that analogy now to say the same as what you've just said there. It's breaking the beliefs that are not your beliefs or your truths. Go for your own truths and see what comes out of that. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Ryder. And as we know, Chris, sorry, everybody, in case if you don't know, you didn't hear the beginning of the show, sorry, Ryder. Chris had a pre-existing engagement. He couldn't get out of tonight, so he's had to leave the show to carry that out. But sorry, Ryder, do go on.
It's okay, Gloria. We're gonna rock out on this bad boy. No, but see what they've done, Gloria, which is genius, right? They've turned everything into a self-policing system, right? And when they've gotten a certain number of people to believe in a illusionary view of reality, those people go out and enforce it upon the rest of the people. Right? And that creates a chain reaction of making us think that it's our idea. That's the way a lot of it works. It's psychological manipulation, spiritual manipulation, through propaganda and all of these psychological ops. It's all to get us to conform to an illusionary reality, and whatever that reality is, it can pertain to whatever. It can pertain to current. It can, pertain to things that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever. History. It doesn't matter. It can be happening.
It doesn't matter. Can I say on that, another thing that comes to my mind? There's the I can't remember, that's gone, the actor's name. He played the Grinch comedy. Do you know who I'm talking about? The American actor.
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey, yeah. And I remember watching a program on him way back where, and this is a good example of what's happening now, and he was playing a character in a film. He had a character, so Jim Carrey had to play the character, and I forget the man's name, but he was a historical famous man. But what he experienced, he became the character, and he believed he was the character, and he believed that everything around him was exactly as the character experienced it. I don't know how many years before he wasn't around, and then after people saying to him, "What are you doing? Wake up! You're Jim Carrey. You're not this person." And he was believing it was real. I'm cutting it short. You should watch this. I can't remember the name of it.
I've seen it. It's called Man in the Moon.
There you go. And then eventually he woke up. I'm not that. I'm not this guy. And then he turned around and he sort of introspection. He went, well, if it could happen to me that easy, then who am I? Jim Carrey. Is this the real me? And off he went on his road. So you can use that Jim Carrey analogy to what's going on now. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. This is going to sound kind of far out, but I've always had this thought: is how does anybody else? I don't know if I want to be explaining this properly for people to really wrap their brain around, because it's something that I've thought about and I have a hard time expressing it. But how does anybody else know that you are you? They don't. They have absolutely no way of knowing that you are Gloria Canning. You could be whoever.
Yeah.
You could be, Smoking Joe walking down the street. You could be,
Oh, come on, Ryder. Can I be an angel? Come on. Can I be an angel? A fallen angel, yeah, but come on, give me a bit of space.
Well, I mean, I can just as easily be that person too. No one knows who anybody is. We could just as easily be anybody else.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just a thought that I've had that no one is able to decipher who anybody really is except the person that they are. And that's where it comes down to, knowing yourself and knowing who you are, because it seems like no one has any idea who they are, Gloria. They just been walking around in a daze.
Yeah, I agree, Ryder. I mean, there comes a point where you come to the realization that, well, I'm Gloria. No, that name was given to me. I have this religion. No, that was given to me. It was my parents, my society, my education system. I'm not that. I was given that. I'm not. And as we always say, do the work on yourself. Find out what you're not. But we are so connected in this conscious system, which we're supposed to be to have a human experience. What we're seeing now is many of us are disconnecting. Or did you know the English? Are you aware of that we have an English series? It's been going on for decades, yeah. Called Doctor Who. Are you aware of this? Doctor
I
Who?
am aware of Doctor Who, but I've never watched it. I always thought it was super corny.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to use an analogy. So at the moment, it's a bit like our reality, individual conscious beings. It's a bit like Doctor Who, because they're 1 minute they're here, and 1 minute they're there, 1 minute they're in this reality, as he went and zapped around in all realities. And people, when you say people don't know who they are, that is basically it. That's what's happening. They're actually feeling a shift, like I was in this timeline a minute ago or whenever, and now I seem to be in another timeline, and I'm not what I thought I was, and I'm this, and then I'm not this, I'm that. That is the deconstruction of the disconnection from the matrix or simulation or conscious architect, whatever terminology it works for every one of you. However, it can be explained in the matrix. Number one, everyone is basically a neo. Everyone's a neo. There is no higher, lower, up or down. Everyone is a neo in this simulation and is starting to disconnect. But as it disconnects, the system will come down harder. Yeah, but not from my truth, not in a negative aspect. It's in a positive. It will come down harder for the individual to awaken and truly disconnect and be free. You're born free. You're a free spirit with no chains. And the only prison you have is in your head. Is that in your head? Does that resonate with you, Ryder?
100%. We're living in a self-contained prison of our own making.
Yeah. Beliefs. It's all beliefs.
Yeah.
We believe.
When people step outside of that, they can really unlock their true potential and what they're supposed to be doing, and things will start to clear up. But it is a difficult and hard process to do that. That's why very few are actually able to do it and survive through it without going crazy and having a healthy outlet. And that's why I'm very grateful to be where I am, that I've made it through all of that nonsense and all of the things that's been set up in our reality for us to fail, not only on a individual level but a collective level too, because they have it all mapped out, Gloria, to the point where to cause as much confusion as possible. And in order to cut through all that misinformation and disinformation and the hijacking of all of these concepts that have been flipped and turned upside down and inverted to us, to cause so much harm to us, for us to lack the awareness to be able to make informed decisions,
But there is a positive, Ryder, now. That has been going on before. We weren't consciously aware before. But look, we're having this conversation, and millions of others are on the podcasts and the shows. We are now aware, so that's a positive. That's a way forward. I'm more optimistic. We've already done it, and it's fine. However, even if you want to look for an evidential, for the evidence that it's already done, is the fact that we're having this conversation. We're aware of the system. When you become consciously aware of the system, and the system is breaking down, no matter what anyone says, it is breaking down. You can see it in pockets. It's breaking down, because the individual conscious being is becoming aware to unplug from the system. I'm using terminologies that the general audience the analogies that would resonate with, so we're all aware of the matrix, so to speak. Does that, how do you feel about that?
No, I agree. I just meant it from an outside perspective. Like, I know that I'm fine, and I know that I've done a lot of the work, but I'm continuously growing. I'm continuously learning. I don't know everything, and I'm never going to know everything. But the point is expansion, and I just feel, I guess that came from me feeling bad about newly awakened people. And I don't really like using the term awakened, but because there's so much nonsense that you have to cut through, Gloria. So much frankly bullshit that you have to use your discernment and your intuition on what you're letting into your subconscious. Right? Because that's the way that they've done it a lot, Gloria, is the hijacking of our subconscious, right? Through programming, through social engineering, the TV, the news, movies, TV shows. All of it has been used to rewire and hijack our subconscious mind. So whenever, and also with our music, now you're not gonna listen to gangster rap and all that stuff, and then go out there and start using hard drugs and gang banging and killing people and being a pimp and all that. But what it is doing is it's supplanting a thought in your subconscious mind. So if and when the opportunity arises for something like that to happen in your reality, you're 10 times more likely to go along with it because your subconscious mind has already been programmed to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm with. I hear you. I resonate with you. I mean, obviously, to come in and have the human experience, we're going to be connected. We have to be connected. We wouldn't be here experiencing, and we wouldn't be here awakening from it and disconnecting from it. So I hear you. And it's like shows like yours and Chris's, I love them. And why I love them is because you bring on different perspectives from different guests, and you unpick and you unpack and you go any way you can to open this out for the audience, for humanity, because not everything resonates with everybody, but the chance with the diversity of the information that you share, for example, will resonate with some, and it just gives them that, I've never looked at it like that. And obviously, I know I've listened to a few of your shows and I've come away going, oh my God, I never thought of that. But we are doing it now. So we are coming from my own truth, we are disconnecting now. And the disconnection is going to be the painful bit, obviously, because basically you just got to get out of the way to disconnect. Because if you want to be the Homo sapiens sapien and the identity, you're plugged into the system. To disconnect, you've got to do the work and do it, as we all do, overcome. And I'm not that. To disconnect. So yes, the system, as it's meant to be in the polarity experience, is going to seem to come harder. However, what is being noted now, and you've got to have noticed this, is with the control, what the controllers are saying to do, it's non-logical, it's nonsensical actions. Does that make sense to you? So never before did we see this. We just blindly followed, but there are certain laws that we are supposed to do. And when you actually read what it says, it's nonsensical. It's backwards. Does that make sense to you? So we're seeing this now, and I see it now in a more humorous way. I go, that's a joke. It's not real. It's a joke but people don't even read the small print. They don't read it. They don't. Does that resonate with you at all? Are you experiencing that at all? It's just a load of funnies.
Oh yeah, I agree. For me personally, yeah. And but again, that's the issue, because it's not being perceived like that collectively, right? And the collective people are the ones that hold the power and have the ability to make changes, right?
But it does come from the individual first. It starts with the individual first. It's got to start with the individual first. And as we've seen, it's got to be, I know I'm going back a few years, since 2012 onward, but the last 2 years, 3 years, there are so many beings that are disconnecting. I've seen it. We've seen the shows, we've seen the information, we've heard it. But it starts on an individual first. And that's where you've got to start. You can't fix outside, you've got to go in first. That's just my truth. That's just where I come from, my perception.
No, I agree. But to get the collective on the same page is a huge task. But again, do we worry about the collective? Because I think the time for that has kind of passed.
I don't worry for the collective. You're doing with your show, you're sharing the information. You can't do any more than that. Every person has a free choice to do or not to do. There's no judgment, but excuse me, I don't concern myself with the collective, because I'm not experiencing what they're experiencing. I'm experiencing my experience, and what they're saying their experience is not in my experience. It's not with me, so I can't even comment, and I wouldn't want to on their experience of the control. I mean, for those that are moaning about the control, stop moaning and do the work on yourself. Change it. Make a choice.
Yeah, and look at everything very objectively, because I feel
Oh
like
God, yes, right. Yeah.
The objective reality has taken a back seat to the illusionary reality that they've been projected upon the mass public, you know. And that's
Ryder, sorry to interrupt you, but something keeps coming in my head and I can't let it go. Could you talk about how, which I found myself recently, our history is not what we thought it was. It's not, well, basically, it's not true. Would you like to, are you aware of this concept now?
Yeah, it just depends on what part of history that you're talking about.
Take your pick, because it's too, we'd be here forever. I've just had a conversation recently with Mohammed Ibrahim from Egypt, and I was mind blown, and it just all fell into place that what I believed to be true, that didn't happen. It was obvious, and you can see it's obvious with the evidence in the 3D reality. So take your pick, because I know you do go into this on your shows.
Well, again, it comes down to perception and getting people to believe in that perception, right? And that's what they've done, because young people and young kids are the most susceptible to be brainwashed and indoctrinated with a set of beliefs, because they haven't been in this construct, right? So they can be easily programmed to believe whatever the reality manipulators, controllers want them to believe. And that's been a big goal from this control system from the very jump, is if you control the children's thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, then you can effectively predict the future, because you know exactly how they are going to react. And you were the one that provided them with the information to begin with.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
right? It's a problem, reaction, solution kind of scenario, right? They've created the problem. They already know the reaction, and it's very easy to provide the solution when you're the one that created the problem.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. That seems to be repeated through history, doesn't it? I'm aware what you're speaking of. That's a constant repetition. It comes up in different formats, but it is being repeated numerous times.
Yeah, it's the same script being played out with different scenarios. Is literally all that it is. And then once you have control of the past, you have control of the future, because that's all that they know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Can I ask you though, Ryder? It keeps coming in. Obviously, I remember being at school. How long ago was that? But I'm going to pick a historical, non-sensitive moment in history. The JFK assassination. Okay, I'm just going to pick that one off just out of the air, because it shouldn't offend anybody. Now, we know the narrative, what we are told, who did what, when, where, whatever. However, I've worked in most of my career has been working. It was working. I'm not now in the youth justice system with young people, around young people, and Ryder. That system we spoke about, they put into place, has failed, because every young person I speak to has a totally different narrative. They know the truth about JFK. Does that make sense to you, what I'm trying to relay across?
Well, here's the thing too, Gloria, is that they can only keep up with that certain kind of narrative for
Yes.
so long, right?
Yes.
Until
Yes.
it starts to break down. But
Yes.
they don't care though, because enough
No.
time has lapsed in
Mm.
between the event happening and the truth getting out that
Yeah.
no one cares.
Mm. I hear
You know?
you. But what I'm going to bring into this is if we go back in history and look, it's their timing control is getting shorter and shorter with every narrative they come out with. It's not going, and we're seeing it today. Come on, Ryder, it's breaking down quicker than it ever could break down. Yeah, the illusion is breaking down quicker. So that's why I brought up the JFK sort of thing. And then when I go out and speak to young people now, they've disconnected from the system. They have disconnected from the system. So it really hasn't got that length. I don't say it to be optimistic. I'm saying what I'm experiencing in my reality.
No, I
There
agree
are
with you 100%. The we have been quicker to jump
catch
on
it.
these kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, and it took a little longer with 9/11,
Yeah.
but then it started getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
Like in 2020, I knew exactly what was happening, and I tried to, tell as many people as I could. And, obviously, when a huge event like that happens globally, people are clamoring for any kind of information that follows through and lines up with their preconceived thoughts, ideas, and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to get people right off the bat on board.
Yeah.
But there were a few people that I did run into that had the same thoughts, ideas, and beliefs
No, I hear
as me
you.
behind it.
But within a year, Ryder, sorry to interrupt, but within a year, there's billions out on the streets. Within a year had woken up. How quick's that? That's quick. In the beginning, yes, it was hard, but within a year, now you're seeing billions of people. No, not doing it. Disconnect. Not doing it no more. That's fast, is it not? Compared to the events in the past.
It is, but another issue is the control of the information, Gloria, because that is happening in the UK and in Australia and different kinds of countries where people are standing up and trying to do something about it. But the thing in the United States is all the information is very controlled by the mainstream news media outlets.
Yeah.
We don't get any kind of information like that from anyone standing up to what's happening from any other countries. All we get is death. These people have died from it. This is getting worse in all of these other countries. That's literally all that we get. And anybody else that goes outside of that and tries to share information from different countries about what's going on, they get shadow banned, they get deplatformed, their channel gets taken down. It's an information war because it starts as a ripple, right? If people were to see and it was blasted everywhere of what's happening in other countries. I'm talking about the mainstream news media outlets, not just alternative media. If it was blasted everywhere, that would create a ripple effect. And whenever some people see other people doing something, they're like, oh, well, maybe that's a good idea for me to try and do as well. So they're not going to let that happen, right? Because then that creates something that they can't control. Right. And whether we like it or not, America is the last standing superpower on the planet. And if America falls, then we're basically screwed in a lot of ways, right? And that's not making America look like we're better than anyone else. That's just the way that this whole thing has been set up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, America is a ruling country and wants control of everybody else and what everyone else is doing. You know, while a lot of our own citizens suffer. But the way that it has to be here in America is it can't be a boots on the ground type of forcing you to do things like it can be in other countries like the UK and Australia and Canada and these different places, right? Because they know that deep within the American people, they are always going to do what is right. Right? We are good. We are good people. Right?
But you're armed out there as well. You're allowed to. You're all armed. You all have guns, don't you?
Well, that too, and that's the reason why that they can't do a boots on the ground kind of martial law like they have in other countries, because they know that as soon as they do, there will be too much opposition to it. So they have to do psychological warfare. That's the only way that we can be manipulated to do and live out the long-term plan that these controllers want, is psychological manipulation, making us think that it's our idea to do it. Because again, the boots on the ground stuff isn't going to work. The boots on the ground is a complete last resort when everything has been collapsed and we have no resemblance of the way that things are. When we are at our weakest point is when they'll throw in the boots on the ground stuff, because they'll see us as weak, and we will be weak, right? So how they get away with it here is all psychological, because if it was the other way around, then there were too many people would rise up and there would be too much opposition, because we've seen it in other countries, Gloria, where people stand up and they say no, and the government people to down, right? When enough opposition arises surrounding a certain subject, thought, or idea, then they have no choice but to back down.
I mean, as I said, I totally understand. Obviously, your experience in America, mine in the UK, two different totally experiences. However, I will still say, you know, even though this sounds quite, oh my God, it sounds very doomy and gloomy, I am also aware at the same time, like today I heard about Budapest. They'd said no more. You're free, get out, let's live with it, onward. And other countries now it's dropping. It is dropping. And I do feel, Ryder, that the majority now are disconnecting. I do feel. However, it must be enough people in Budapest to say no. If you all say no, it's a no, and it's by your own individual action. I mean, to me, that's optimistic. To me, I only see it in an optimistic way, that this is pushing humanity to awaken to their freedom of who they are, their rights as being a human being, of choice, of peace, of love, of choosing how they wish to live their life. And I think it's pushed all of this, what you speak about in this simulation, has pushed and is pushing still humanity. And the ones that are still conforming, it will keep pushing until eventually they awaken and say, well, I'm a free being. Why am I doing this? I can't be compliant to another. Does that make sense to you, Ryder?
Yes, it does. And that's, I am hopeful for that too, but unfortunately, I feel like it's too little, too late. You know, it's been taken too far, and what we need to be prepared for right now is the inevitable collapse of the entire system.
It
Because
has
it's
to collapse.
all going to come down, and there's going to be a lot of death and destruction and chaos within that, and it's going to catch a lot of people off guard, right? And it's not like when I say that it's going to happen tomorrow, or it's going to happen next week, or even next year, or even the next 5 years, but it is coming. There is no way out of this scenario that has been placed on us other than complete collapse. You can't just shut down the world for 2 years and not expect any kind of repercussion.
Right? What is hidden, and the systems have to collapse. The systems have to collapse. The systems don't work anymore. I mean, I'm not going to go digress too far off, but we know we've already got free energy. We know what we've got already that's not being used. So those that make the money black. We know all that. We're not going to digress off. So the system isn't working. I know in the education system, young people will tell you it hasn't worked for years. It didn't work when I was in the education system. And their children are being taught today what I was taught decades ago, same stuff. You know, they even in the science lessons, they haven't even brought in quantum physics or So I agree with you. The systems have to fall. However, I'm more of an optimist for my projection and how this will happen. And I'm not naive. I'm aware of hardships, but however,
well, what do you think is going to happen? How do you think that they're going to do it without causing chaos and tens of thousands of and millions of deaths?
How do I think? Well, I call it it's a spiritual apocalypse, not a physical. It's a spiritual.
Right, but we're in a spiritual right now, and we know that everything that that happens in our reality comes from the spiritual first. So we're just in the first throes of this. How long before?
Don't know. And it's on the individual.
Because that's an inevitability.
I can only speak from my reality. It's on every individual's reality. However, what does it mean, a spiritual apocalypse? It basically, if you're going to take it to the nit and gritty, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. It means deconstructing the human and all things that engage or has reference to or inference to the human concepts, from the identity, from the ego, from the belief systems. You have to disconnect from every single one of them. And that is not as disastrous as one may think it would be, because once you've started to do the work on yourself, you realize there is, you have to face your fears. Or if I do this or I do that. I'll give you an example. Chris, he was telling his journey, where he had to give up a well-paid job. Do you remember? His story?
Yeah.
And he had the fear, and he decided to make a different choice. And the fear was there. No money, no nothing, but I just got to go and do it. And he faced his spiritual apocalypse, one of them, on that. Now look what happened. So this is the only way I can give this analogy. It's the whole point of, if you want to call it the ascension, what's happening now, is to disconnect from the human experience while still being in the avatar, the meat body. You're still here. It's the whole point. And it looks scary because you're coming from fear-based beliefs or that we've all accumulated through millennium. Yeah. So there comes the collective fear base as well. But you make a different choice. You make that different choice. As soon as you make that choice, there's turmoil. You go through some hard. I lost my homes. I lost my money before. I just said, bring it on. I've had enough. and everything disappears. You've got no food, you've got no money, you've got no, and then all of a sudden, because a shift happened, I made a different choice. Instead of playing the victim, oh, look at this is happening, then it all just started coming back. But that's just my truth. It's just how I'm experiencing the 3D reality, because being aware of who I am. Does that make sense to you? My answer?
No, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom, and I hope people don't take me.
No, you're not. You're not
being doom and gloom, but it's just that we have to be prepared for what's going to come, because it's coming, whether
any possibility
you want it or not.
Yeah, it's already. You can see it's already started, but the difference is, how can I put this? I'm trying to find an analogy. Me and my analogies. Like the first time I ever saw, the first time I realized what I had been seeing were greys, Whitley Strieber books. You remember I told you that? Yeah. The fear that went through me then, my whole reality shattered, boom. I got over it. I faced it and I got over it. So it can be there on your doorstep, Ryder. It could be there on your doorstep, Ryder. And it's changed the way you look at things. The things you look at change. It's how you perceive it. If you perceive any action that's coming in as a fear, then that's what you will experience. That's quantum physics. That's the law that we're existing. The energetic exchange. So, if you fear it, then that's what you get. That will be your reality. It's totally different when there is no fear and you perceive it for what it truly is. Then it doesn't happen the way that your reality shifts.
Well, no, I agree with you 100%, but I'm not speaking from myself. Right?
No, I know what you're saying.
I know all of these things, and I know what I'm capable of and everything. I'm speaking more, for other people and what they need to do to prepare, because now is the time, right? We've been building up to this our entire lives. We were put here for this very moment, right now.
Yeah.
And now is the time to take your freaking training gloves off. You've done all of the preparing. You've done all of the training.
Done everything.
You've been, you've sparred. You've worked out. You've done it all.
Yeah.
Right. Now is the time to get in the ring and put and throw your best freaking punch.
Oh, I would say, that's because you're male and female. We're playing the two different roles. I would say it's time to do a Jim Carrey. Realize, I've had enough of this game. It's not who I played that actor for long enough. I'm bored of it. Oh, well, that's where I'm at anyway. I've had enough of playing that role. I've had enough of the human experience with its belief systems and it's strapped into the conscious intelligence, as it should be. But the system is programmed for that. The system is a no fail. You can't fail because everything is consciousness. We're just playing a role. It's a stage. It's a theatre. And we're playing the actors like Jim Carrey, the analogy I gave. And it could get down and dirty. And it could go anywhere it needs to go. However, you will experience it for the way you perceive it, your perceptions. So the light of yourself and on your show, the information you give out, you give pointers. Look at it, and I love it. I love what you do on your show, Ryder. You say to the audience, including me, have you thought of looking at it this way? And, or have you thought of looking at it this way, by the different types of conversations you're having? And, I'm just saying what you do for humanity on your show is amazing. And I recommend for the audience to go and watch and listen to Ryder on Raised by Giants, because some amazing shows you've got on there, amazing conversations and insights. we've gone over the hour. I don't mind overtime, it's fine, but I don't want to end today's show without you talking about your trilogy. Yes, the trilogy. Come on, Ryder.
Well, the first one that I mentioned was a download that happened probably like 7 months ago after I got off an interview with Wayne Steiger. I received the information later that night. I created a presentation about it called Exiting the Simulation, Returning to Source. And I thought that was it. You know what I mean? I thought that was it was a one and done kind of thing. And later on, roughly 6-7 months ago, I received another download, which I turned into a presentation called Attack on the Heart, Fight for Humanity. And
seen that one?
I didn't know, what all of this really meant and how they were connected, and because the downloads come in like waves, right? Like I think that we do receive all the information from our higher self or from us, and then it takes a while to kind of unpack it. But then I started realizing that how connected the first presentation was to the second presentation. And then I received all of the information for the third presentation, and I'm currently working on that one right now, and it'll probably be a couple of months before I get it finished, because it's going to encompass a lot of things, right? The first one was about source, about ancient history, about the knowledge of good and evil, ascension, and had to do with the lockdowns and the consent and for that, and what the lockdowns actually meant, and what they were doing, and reincarnation, and how long we've been here, and that we've been here for thousands and thousands of years. We've just been stuck in a reincarnation AI loop. And then the second presentation was basically about consciousness transfer, AI programs, AI consciousness transfer, stars, and then in alien abduction timelines, and then the testing that everyone has been susceptible to. And the third one is going to kind of encompass all of that and bring it all together. And then we are going to find out what the real reason is for the medical treatment that they're trying to impose upon the entire population. And it's going to be a really good one. And I realize that it's a trilogy, and once I'm done with this trilogy, it's basically going to be over, and I'm going to kind of take a break and a little step back. And if something happens to come to me, later on, then I might create another presentation, but I want to kind of hang back and just do my own thing and focus on my own show and do that. But yeah, it's going to be huge, and it's going to be a huge banger. And it's probably going to be pretty long, probably like 45 minutes to an hour is how long it's going to be. But it's going to be well worth it. And people have the shows that I've been on, that I've done the presentations on, people have responded really well to.
I've watched them. I've seen the first two of the trilogy, and I'm telling you, it was amazing. And I'm have got to know you, and it's like, Ryder doesn't talk like that. That's not Ryder. I just Ryder doesn't use them terminologies. So I can tell that this is downloaded. You can just tell, and the way it's constructed, and it's an eye opener, Ryder. I've watched 1 and 2, and I'm sure when the third one comes out, it's going to be. And if I know you, Ryder, it's going to be controversial. Which is, you know what? It's wonderful. You know, I always say it's the likes of yourself and you know, the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. You just say what the rest of them are scared to say. That's all. But someone's got to say it, and you're saying it.
Yeah,
and
because a lot of it's been misinterpreted, Gloria. All of it's been turned upside down and turned into something that it's not. You know, ascension, manifestation, starseeds. They have the right idea, but the fundamental things of it are wrong.
You know, no, I hear you. I hear you. I would recommend you go to Raised by Giants, Ryder's show, YouTube channel, and I'm sure you'll find the links on there. But there's links on our page to connect with Ryder. Ryder, I've got to ask a question though. So, when are you going to write a book?
I don't know. That's what I originally wanted to do back before I even started this show. It started my YouTube channel and podcast, Raised by Giants. That's what I wanted to do was write a book, and the title of the book was going to be Attack on the Heart, you know. And I was like, well, and I have maybe 8 chapters kind of already written. I mean, they're not, complete. I could probably add so much more to it, but in that I was like, okay, well, who really reads anymore? You know what I mean?
Trust me, people do read. They do read. Listen. The presentations, I'm not a reader anymore. I do now and again, but if someone puts a YouTube presentation up, I'm listening. But there are millions of other people. They like to read still. They still like to read. There you go. So we can't. Even myself, I can't blanket everyone like, oh, I don't read no more so much. I'd rather. I'm a visual learner, so I'd rather have audio or I'd have a visual. Yeah.
Me too, and that's the reason why I didn't. Finish.
But there are others that still read. People are still selling their books, Ryder, all the time. So I don't think you should give up on the idea of doing it.
It's just very difficult in this time to not only write the book, but then get it published and then self-published, because self-publishing is a very difficult process to go through, and it's just it's too much for me right now. Maybe
when the time
3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, I can have better understanding of everything that's going on, and I can bring it all into a singular place for people to be able to read. But right now, I don't think that it's of much value. I think that what I'm doing right now with the visual and the podcast and bringing information to people is the best thing for everyone right now to try and help.
Well, you never know, Ryder. Some publisher may be watching eventually your trilogy and look at that and say, do you know what? Let's pull this together. You don't know. It may not be. Change the way you look at things, Ryder. It may just come easy from the heart. It may just happen from ways and means you don't know. So, but on that note,
I agree with you, but it's like, do I even want to do it? That's
hell, of course you do, Ryder. Of course you do. Some people don't live on the internet like us. Yeah. They read books. They order them off Amazon and read books. I used to be one of those people. I'm not no more. So yeah, how you do it? It's going to happen, Ryder. Don't worry. Before we end today's show, is there anything that any of your words of wisdom? Because sometimes when I've spoken to you, Ryder, you come out with the most deep and profound statements I've ever heard, and they're so loving and kind. If you could leave a message for me and anyone watching, what would it be?
My message would be to figure out who you are as a spiritual being. Drop all of the labels and categories that society has placed on you and figure out who you are. You are very special. You are here for a reason. And that just needs to be brought forth. We have been here for thousands and thousands of years. We just don't recognize it and we just don't know it. We are essentially gods, right? And we need to start living up to that title. And that means having integrity. That means when you say something and you tell someone you're going to do something, you do it. That means not compromising on your morals. That means doing the right thing that serves your highest and best good always, all the time. Right?
Yeah.
There is no shortcuts
Mm-hmm.
in this reality. And a lot of times, the best thing for us and our highest good is the most difficult thing to possibly do.
Mm.
But we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and we have to do it no matter how difficult it might be. We have to stay persistent. We have to do what we say that we're going to do. So know your place. That's a huge key in all this, is to know your place, know when to say something, bring the awareness to yourself, when to stand up, when not to stand up, when to say something, when not to say something. That's of utmost importance, right? Being able to know the right timing to get the best outcome, right? And bringing that intuition and that gut feeling all working together, right? Turning your fears and your negative attributes and character defects into positive attributes, right? Transmutate all of that negativity. Anytime a negative thought comes into your mind, you have the ability to switch that and turn it, right? We can turn all of these negative things that are happening to us on an individual and a collective level into something positive with our consciousness and with our awareness and perception, right? We can turn it all into something very beautiful, and we can dig ourselves out of the mess that we have imposed upon ourselves in our individual reality, in our collective reality. You are not too small to make a difference.
Mm.
You can do it, and you will do it. You can create a ripple effect. The negative side has been doing this for decades, and it can work for the opposite side as well. We just have to have faith and belief and hope that it will work, right? And dive headfirst into it and don't give up, right? Keep fighting for what you know and stay very objective in your reality and realize that people's thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and emotions are all happening for a reason, because that's their truth. That's their reality. You know, have compassion for them, but also stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
that's it. Thank you.
What do you mean that's it? What do you mean that's it? That was absolutely awesome. What do you mean that's it? That was really, wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Ryder. Thank you. Thank you for coming on to the show. It's, as you Americans say, it's been a blast. It's just been so inspirational. And thank you for giving up your time, for getting out of your bed so early. Okay. I always get you out of your bed early. But before we go, thank you everybody for watching, or those that are going to watch this on the rerun. You'll find it obviously on the Open Minds Facebook page, and we're on YouTube simultaneously. You can watch all of our programs there. There's some amazing guests we've had on. This is season 2, so there's a hell of a lot of shows you can watch, all free, all free. I'd like to now, just before I go, tell you about our next week. I'm laughing because it's who's coming on. Ryder is aware of him. Next Sunday at 6 p.m, Sunday, the 10th of October, we have the one and only, I'm not going to pronounce his surname properly, Robert Filocco. Did I say that correctly, Ryder? Filocco.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Robert is an amazing person. He's a researcher. He uses big words better than I. No, he's wonderful. He's extremely insightful. And he was one of the people that introduced to me the spiritualization of matter. It's amazing. And I plagiarized it, and I throw it into my book, and I'm telling it to everybody. He's absolutely amazing, and he's written some really good papers, especially on Steiner. So Robert, the non-Italian, I have to throw that in. He knows what I mean. Robert, the non-Italian, non-mafiosa, will be with us next week. Please join us to watch him. Ryder, once again, thank you so much for today. And thank you, everybody, for watching Open Minds. And we'll see you next Sunday. Bye for now.
Thank you, Gloria.